Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post, we're going to look at Rosh Hashana, and we're going to focus on the bracha, the blessing that we give each other during this time, which almost by rote, when we just say Shana Tova, we say have a good year. We wish people that they should have a year of health, success, happiness. There's a script almost that we go through by rote, by habit. And even in Rosh Hashanah night, when we wish each other K'tiva v'Chatima Tova, we have it. It's part of the you could say it's part of the davening. It's part of our natural interactions with one another. But what are we actually wishing? We're wishing for only good things, only good health, good happiness, success, nachas from our family. But there's something within that we need to ask. What about, or how can we ignore the fact that there are things that happen which bring us down? There are things that are difficult. There are things that will frustrate us. So surely a more accurate blessing that we can give each other is that we are able to deal with the hard times, deal with the challenges, deal with the hardships in an adaptive and healthy way. There's a certain acceptance of reality that we want to receive as much of the good things that we can get and to be productive and that we can have health and success and happiness. But within that, inbuilt is an ability to recognize, to understand and acknowledge that there will be things that bother us, things that frustrate us, challenges that we will face in the coming year, and we want to be able to deal with those in the best way possible. So how do we see this actually from the Rambam in Hilchos Teshuvah? That the Rambam says that there are certain averas. So if someone does an avera that should be punished by Mises Beis Din, the death penalty by Beis Din, or Kores, the tshuva process requires both the personal, individual tshuva that one has to go through of recognizing what they've done. There's also Yom Kippur that provides the kapara. And additionally, the Rambam says there's Yisurim. Suffering. There's also suffering that a person has to experience. Now the question that we need to ask, and we need to wonder is, what is this Yisurim that a person has to go through? Suffering. We don't want suffering. We want just a good year, Shana Tova, with bracha and health. What is this Yisurim? This gives us an insight and understanding that there are difficulties and hardships that we will experience. But this gives us in a way, a cognitive reframing of how to understand this Yisurim. And indeed, the Gemara says in Erechim that if you go through 40 days without experiencing any Yisurim, in a way you should be worried, in a way you should be concerned, because it's like you've received Olam Haba already. You've received everything that you need. That's it. Your right and merit for the Olam Haba has been given to you already now, because to go through, what the Gemara is saying from a psychological perspective, to go through 40 days without any Yisurim, without any suffering, without anything happening negative to you, that's already perfect in a way. That's something which is associated with the next world. That means that the reality of this world, the reality of our existence, the human existence, is that there will be, within 40 days, it's almost as definitely going to be something that happens that bothers us. Because the Gemara in Erechim says, what is Yisurim that might happen within 40 days? It's not necessarily huge suffering and pain. We don't want that. Obviously, we don't wish that on ourselves or on anybody. And when we say that we need to go through Yisurim, the Gemara in Erechim actually gives an insight of how do we define Yisurim. The Gemara says it could be things like putting on a garment that doesn't fit. And that's annoying. It bothers you. Every time you put on this garment, it doesn't actually fit you properly. When you have a drink, you want to enjoy the drink, and it's not exactly the way that you want it. It doesn't taste the way that you want it. That's frustrating. When you put your hands in your pocket to take out change, to take out money, you want a certain amount of coins, you take out too few, not enough coins, so you have to put your hands in your pocket again and take out some more coins. We see actually from the Gemara that it's fine-tuning this idea of Yisurim, that it could be the small, insignificant things that are bound to happen within 40 days. That's what the Gemara is saying. Within 40 days, these things are bound to happen. All the time, there's frustrating little things that seemingly are insignificant. But as Rashi says, within these small, insignificant things, there is tsar. It bothers us. On a subconscious level, there is something which is frustrating, annoying, And certainly if it accumulates, it starts to feel as if like, why is the world against me? Why do I have all these things that are just coming time and time again that are so frustrating and annoying? And that's when we start to see from a cognitive perspective, a psychological perspective, is maybe entering into a certain level of anxiety or depression, things that start to really accumulate and build up. Because it's, as Rashi says, that there is tsar. It's frustrating and annoying. From a cognitive perspective, from a CBT perspective, there is this response of actually interpreting these things as the world is against me. All these things that are happening to me time and time again. It's so frustrating. Why doesn't nothing ever work out for me? But the insight that the Rambam gives is that there is a teshuvah process that's coming in. These yisurim are something that we can work on from a cognitive perspective to understand that it's not just being bothered and responding in this negative way, or in this maladaptive way of there is tsar, it's bothering me, it's frustrating, it's annoying me, and I'm just so frustrated and fed up with all these things that are happening. The teshuvah process that the Rambam is saying is that it gives this cognitive reframing of there is a reason for why these things are happening. There is a purpose. In fact, maybe it's actually saying that I can accept that this is part of the reality. Within 40 days, in fact, it's telling us, perhaps we can say it's good in a way that these things are happening. These are small, insignificant, you could say, things that are happening, and it's annoying and it's frustrating. And together with that starts to come the more adaptive thought process of, I can accept this. This is part of the reality. This is part of human existence. This is part of a teshuvah process. This is something which we need to experience. Because Olam Haba is the time when there's a time where we can live a perfect life, perhaps. This all gives an insight of how we can reframe our cognitive perspective to understand what it means to have suffering in our life. So when we come into the new year, when we bless and give a bracha to ourselves, what people are blessing us, and when we are blessing other people, we want the good life, we want success, we want health, we want happiness, and also to know how to respond and deal with the yisurim, the annoying, frustrated things that are bound to happen at least once in 40 days, if not every day. And that should be hopefully the more complete bracha to be able to go into the coming year in the best way, in the most healthy and adaptive way. So that is my bracha to you. Shana Tova.